You know what? I was very skeptical about this, but I really enjoyed it.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Will, and I'm doing my quick review for Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's right, the fabled Justice League has finally hit HBO Max, and it is something. It is really good, and I'm very happy to say it's really good. Before I jump into my review of the movie, I do want to give a slight warning. I may accidentally spoil something from the movie in this review. This is not a spoiler-loaded review. I'm going to try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, but just in case, light spoiler warning for some of the differences between this iteration of Justice League and the one that we got back in 2017. Which, a fun fact, if you look at my channel, the very first video that I did on my channel was a quick review for Justice League, the theatrical version, not Zack Snyder's version, which we were delighted to see finally. And listen, I get it. Everybody, after the theatrical version came out, which I was pretty lenient on the theatrical version due to all the tragedy and things that happened with Zack Snyder and his family, which caused the production to shift to, I don't know if I'm allowed to say his name right now, to the other director who directed the theatrical version that we got. That was like a 2-hour long movie. So I was very generous and somewhat positive about that movie. I understood a lot of the reason behind some of the changes, but after watching Zack Snyder's real version of Justice League, which I will say is the real and superior version of Justice League, there's a lot that I wish I could take back from that first video. So if you want to check it out, it's 2 minutes long. It's the very first one I ever did, but I would probably recommend this one over that one. In terms of the movie, not the videos, please watch both videos and subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy this type of thing. I do movie reviews, trailer reactions, all that fun jazz. So, light spoiler warning out of the way, but this is, for all intents and purposes, a completely different movie. So this does take place, it follows the events from Batman vs. Superman, which is another movie I revisited before watching this, just to see if my opinions have changed on that movie. Really has not. I'm still not a big fan of Batman vs. Superman. However, I will say I understand the logic behind doing those things to get to what we got with Justice League. And so this picks up after events of that movie. Superman is dead. That's kind of not really a spoiler, but Superman is dead. And Batman and Wonder Woman are trying to unite other superpowered beings in order to prevent whatever is coming next. So I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of the movie since there is technically a version of this that has been out for a couple years. I will say that the bones of the movie are relatively similar because even though it was done by a different director, the one that we got in 2017 was relatively a bare bones version of what Zack Snyder was trying to tell, with some very, very dramatic changes, which after watching this version on HBO Max, I completely disagree with a lot of stuff that was taken out because the stuff that was in was fantastic. Case in point, the characters of Cyborg and Flash were completely misused in the theatrical version compared to Zack Snyder's version that we got here. Ray Fisher, who's the actor who portrayed Cyborg in the movie, he was the most vocal about his disdain or his anger towards the theatrical version and the director of that movie. And after watching this version, after watching Zack Snyder's version, I completely understand. His entire arc in this movie was fantastic. He was kind of the lead of the Justice League movie. And same thing with Ezra Miller's Flash, which I enjoyed the version that we got in the theatrical release. However, this version is pretty much the same, but there's more to him. There's more to it. And he gets the best way to close out the third act that was completely removed from the theatrical version. There's a lot of choices that were made in the theatrical version which clearly have been proven 100% wrong by the release of the Zack Snyder version. I will say it is a 4-hour movie. It is 4 hours, and that is a lot to commit to watching a movie. I mean, I think the longest movies are really like the Lord of the Rings, and they run a little over 3 hours, maybe 3.5 tops. But this was 4 hours, and I am so glad that he got to do it. I don't think he needed 4 hours. you could probably have shaved off certain things in this version to get it closer to 3 hours, to make it a little bit more digestible for your average person. There are certain things I would say, even in Zack Snyder's cut of the movie, I would probably remove just to save on time and pacing. But there are things that he did that fundamentally made this so much of a better movie. Like I said, I talked about Cyborg. This is really about his story, coming to grips with what was done to his body by his father, understanding his backstory, his anger towards his father, and the redemption his father goes to try to win back the love of his son. I think the movie does a better job showing them as a team, especially in the third act. We get to see them together more and fighting together more in the third act than we got in the theatrical version. They even gave Batman somewhat of they explained more of his motivation to bring people together besides the fact that something's coming and this Batman is completely paranoid, and to try to have some sort of redemption arc from what his role was in Batman vs. Superman. Which again, Batman vs. Superman, I still, even after rewatching it, I definitely was not a fan of choices that they made just to get them to clash. And then the resolution of that clash made no sense. Superman's resurrection is a lot more in-depth, which I enjoyed. A lot of the fight sequences were extended, which I think was really cool. Some of the side little things like that could have been trimmed down. There's a scene, the scene that when Bruce goes to find Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, and Aquaman takes off after he says no to joining the team, there's like an extra 2 minutes and 30 seconds of some random Norwegian woman singing, and then taking his shirt and like sniffing it like it's a Gain ad. You could have left that on the cutting room floor. But hey, you know what? I think felt like this was Warner Brothers' way of saying, hey, we screwed up in 2017. We're really, really sorry. Please just take this money and do what you want to do. We won't say no. And that's kind of what it felt like. Some of the cameos from other characters I felt were cool. They were still doing the nightmare sequence stuff, which is interesting, but unfortunately, I don't know where this is going. Are we getting another one? Who knows? They've talked about what they would have done with Justice League 2 and 3 and stuff like that, which would have been interesting, but I don't think we're going to get that, unfortunately. And that's kind of a shame, especially after watching what he did with this. It definitely proves they should have let him just complete his vision. You know, again, even me, I kind of picked on it a little bit. I couldn't see his vision. And now watching this, I totally see it. I gotta say, it's really damn good. And again, I can admit when I'm freaking wrong, I was. I like Man of Steel, and especially after revisiting it a couple years later. I really appreciate a lot of stuff he did in that too. BVS, even after watching it after a couple years, I like elements of it, but then it's not my favorite. This is probably my favorite of the three, and I really have a theory, or at least this is the way I see it. Like Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Justice League are kind of like a low-key Superman trilogy if you really think about it. He's the focal point of all three movies, and he has this full arc of going from, you know, learning about his abilities to trying to be what the people want, to ultimately dying and being resurrected and coming back somewhat as the version of Superman that we would hopefully get in an actual Man of Steel sequel. But this is kind of like a low-key Superman trilogy. Besides Cyborg and Flash, and the villains get so much better screen time, motivations, redesigns, because Steppenwolf looks like a villain. He looks better, so much better than what we got in the theatrical version. I feel like I'm shitting on the theatrical version, but this movie kind of shits on it really hardcore. So Steppenwolf gets a full redesign and looks so much better. I'm still a little weird on the shimmery armor. I get it, it's alien technology. It's very stylized, and that's what a lot of his movies are. But overall, he felt more like a threat. He felt more menacing. You know, having Darkseid in it as the looming big bad who had a few scenes in it was also really cool to have. I'm glad he was able to have a way to bring his trilogy or his series of movies to a close, or at least to a somewhat of a satisfying conclusion. Is this the end for these characters? I don't know, because it seems like they're going to maybe try to reboot it a little bit and keep going with it. I don't know if Zack Snyder's still going to do it. He might want to. He may be like, I'm good. After finally completing his vision, he might be like, I'm good. I'm ready to go do something else. I don't know, but if this is the end for his version of these characters, or this version of the Justice League led by Zack Snyder, I think he went out with a blaze of glory and a satisfying conclusion. Honestly, I would be interested to see what they decide to do from here. As someone who, like I said, I'm not a fan of BVS. I'm really not. As a standalone movie, even as a middle of these two, you can kind of go into Justice League and not have seen BVS. They give you all the knowledge that pertains to Justice League at the beginning of the movie. So, at the beginning of this version. Again, I'm talking about Zack Snyder Justice League. Completely forget the 2017 version. I'm sure most people have at this point. But you can kind of go into this without it. And that's a good thing. At least for me, because again, I'm not a fan of BVS. There are people who love BVS, and again, you are completely entitled to love BVS. I'm not shitting on it. I'm just saying I'm not a fan of it. That's all. Don't at me. I think it's cool that he was allowed to complete the vision that he wanted to complete, and his vision was justified and true, and he was right, and people who kept clamoring for this were right. You guys were right. I think the characters of Cyborg and Flash got so much better screen time in this movie. Hindsight's 2020. They definitely got dissed in the previous one. I think it was paced really well, especially for 4 hours. I really think you probably could have shaved it down to 3 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. There's a couple spots that I would probably be like, that didn't do anything for the overall story of it. But there's a lot of stuff that was added back in, a lot of stuff that was in this version of it that should have been in the original. And I can see why. And the man knew what he wanted to do, and he did it. And I'm very happy for him as a fan of these characters, as a fan of movies. I will say this: as people in the fandoms of the world, rather your comics, your video game, or movies and stuff like that, we walk a fine line. Because this is the second time that a fan swell has caused a positive change. Let's not do it for every single thing, but let's do it when it counts. And let's put a lot of that energy into making the overall world a better place. It worked with Sonic. We got the redesign for Sonic. And you know, the fans who wanted the Snyder Cut got the Snyder Cut. And we're all beneficiaries of that. And again, I'm glad I was wrong. I'm glad I can say I would watch this 4-hour cut again. I wish it was 3 hours just from a sitting on the couch version of it, but I would sit there and watch the 4 hours without complaining. I'd still laugh at a couple parts because, come on, the girl just randomly singing and then like, oh, it smells like Jason Momoa. Overall, I think Zack Snyder's Justice League was fantastic. I think it was a great way to close out his trilogy of movies. Hopefully we'll get some more from him. Maybe we'll get something totally different, and I would actually be down for that. I highly recommend people checking it out. Give it a shot. It is a completely different movie from the one that we got theatrically in 2017. And it's a superior version of it. I think it is the superior version of the Justice League. And I think it's great. That is my quick review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Have you seen it? A lot of people have, but have you seen it? Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on it. As always, thank you so much for watching this and all of my videos. I truly do appreciate it. You can follow me on all the social media listed at the end of the video. Like, share, and subscribe, all that fun stuff. I have a ton of videos on the channel now that you can check out, and I would really appreciate it. So until next time, I will catch you later. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you did like this video, why not give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends? You can subscribe to the channel by clicking on my gorgeous little face right over there. You can follow me on all the various social media platforms right below. And last but certainly not least, if you've got a few extra minutes, why not check out one of the lovely videos floating right over here. Later.